Okay. Now let's go back.
All right. Oh, Mateo made it since he's finally going to ref this year. You can probably start Max.
I figured it was going to be a smaller crowd because they knew I was presenting. So,
Don't worry, I'm leaving
Yeah,
after the first 5 minutes.
well, there's a lot of good information in the first 5 minutes, Mateo. So,
That's all I need to hear. I'm just here for attendance right now. Just kidding.
I think he's doing that because that's what you usually do, Max.
hey, that's because I got the kids. I don't think Mateo's got the kids to deal with yet.
No, because I see how happy your kids make you. So
So I'm on the field so much, right?
yeah, exactly. You and Don both.
All right, so if you want me to get started, let's do it. We've got a lot of things to talk about here, so we can put our best foot forward here for the playoffs. So first, we've got some administrative reminders. I think most of this has already been communicated by email, but all tournament series assignments come directly from the WIAA, not Arbiter. They are out through May 30th, so accept them as soon as you get them. Your availability may have changed since you submitted the WIA survey that was due in April. So try to keep Arbiter up to date just in case. And remember, according to the WIA, turning back assignments may affect future playoff considerations. So accept if you can, unless there's an emergency there. You can see the fee structure. That's set by the state. It's not the same as the regular season, and each game fee level does increase by $10 next year. And just as another note, WIA registration is also open for next year, and the sport-specific fee is waived for both boys and girls lacrosse. So, turning to the pregame here, your R should contact the crew with the logistics. You may need to arrive earlier than a typical varsity game. So, expect 45 minutes to an hour in some cases before start time. On site, review your three-man mechanics as necessary. Make sure singles all the counts except for the 4 second. Go over signals for over and back, who has the restarts, etc. Talk about the clock. Make sure it starts and stops correctly. Is there a horn? Where is the horn? Is it at the table? Is it off the scoreboard? Who's watching the clock at the end of the period for both shot release and to determine possession if we've got an extra man opportunity? Everyone on the crew needs to know and repeat the penalty release time. All the officials, the table, make sure the goalkeeper knows. Walk on the field together no later than 20 minutes prior to the start of the game. Review the lines on the field. I know I always get thrown off when I'm on a new field. O'Dwyer can attest to that from a game a couple weeks ago. Know where you're going at halftime and the end of the game. Don't stick around at the end of the game. Get out of there. And know who the site administrator for crowd control and medical personnel are in case you need them. At the coaches meeting, talk to the home coach first, certify, get the anthem lineup logistics, remind them about good sportsmanship, and ask for their help keeping the sub box and the bench areas clean. This is an area I know I've neglected during the regular season, so I'll show that diagram on the next slide. We'll answer questions from them, not statements, professionally as play allows. Don't get bogged down during the game addressing the coach if there's an active play going on. Let them know we'll be available for stick checks after the other meetings, and try to spend an equal amount of time with each coach to avoid any appearance of bias. So if we go to the field diagram, note the red area there. The players need to be 6 yards off the field and 10 yards back of midfield if there's not an eminent substitution. The wing official can help clean this up before face-offs, and the trail official can help clean that up as they're passing by as well. So just keep an eye on that. If you have a clean box, it makes that area much easier to officiate, especially if we've got somebody in the box and we need to count them for offsides purposes. During the captain's meeting, make sure the home team faces the bench. All officials should shake hands with all the captains, remind them about sportsmanship, and keep it brief since the kids don't really listen to us anyway. Keep your cards in your pocket to record direction or AP until the captains go back to their teams. When we do the face-off meeting, verify all sticks for contrasting color on the shaft. Go through your standard reminders about going down correctly, hands off the plastic, top to stop. Talk them through it and adjust if needed, but turn over if they're not responsive. We'll move the ball off the X if necessary, if there's a dip in there or if it's a grass field and it just gets beat down. Make sure we move that off to ensure fair face-offs for both teams. Tell them that we're going to vary the cadence of the whistle. We don't want one guy to get an advantage because he knows how fast or slow we blow the whistle after set. I had a game with Prez earlier this year, and one of the players told him that he was the only official whose cadence he couldn't figure it out. So that prompted me to change my cadence for the rest of the season. You may want to warn them also if it's going to be a long set. Say, guys, it's going to be a long set. I'm going to take a few steps and back out, then blow the whistle. We don't want to be the ones causing them to jump if we can avoid it, but we do have to vary the cadence. Make sure we're talking with them throughout the game. Let them know when they're doing a good job, and let them ask questions respectfully if they notice anything. So now let's get to some diagrams for three-man mechanics. Starting with the face-off, single side face-off official does all the talking. If you watch Saturday's national semifinals, you only heard one voice when everyone was at the X. Single side face-off official should be straight back around the line and wait for the helper to point. I like the helper always, or the lead left, always at a 45-degree angle. Their responsibility is to watch the player directly across from them and wait for the wing official to point before you point to the single side to put him down. Your wing official is going to put the timer on when the face-off official reaches the X. They check the clock, the sub box, player alignment, and then they point toward their goal when they're ready. If the ball goes towards lead left on the face-off, lead left hustles to the goal, staying outside of the play. Face-off official is going to move to single side and gets to their position while remaining outside the play as well. Your wing official is going to go towards the cone to monitor at least the first wave of subs, possibly the second if they do a lot. Then they move into the trail position. If the ball goes toward lead right hustles to cover the goal. Face-off official again moves to the single side, while lead left gets to the first corner, again, to monitor subs before going to the trail. In settled situations, the lead starts at GLE and yo-yos back and forth with the single side. The lead can get closer to the crease than in two-man because we've got the trail covering that sideline for backup. As a scoring play develops near the crease, the official the ball is coming towards has their feet, and the other official has the contact from behind. We remember that in NFHS rules, a player cannot become airborne of their own volition, land in the crease, and score. The lead should always make eye contact with the single side before indicating a goal. If we look at the middle diagram, where we've got zone coverage, the ball goes near the end line. Notice the lead gets off GLE and goes behind the goal to cover a contested play there. The single then covers GLE until the lead returns. So it's important not to chain yourself to GLE as lead like I know a lot of us do during two-man. The end line is 15 yards behind the goal, so we need to be able to move and follow the play as necessary. In the right diagram, where the ball is near the midline, the trail moves back to cover the ball, watch for over and back, pushes, offsides. Notice how the single moves up a little bit further to be in position for a quick restart if we have a turnover at the midline, while the lead still has GLE responsibility. Know who has your boundary line coverage. Again, this is one of the harder changes to adapt to from two-man to three-man mechanics. the lead is responsible for their end line, since the trail has sideline responsibility. Single has their sideline, and for contested balls near the corners, look to your partners for help if you're unsure there. During transitions, make sure all three officials signal a reset, and then the single is going to start either the 20 or 10-second count as appropriate. The trail is going to become the new lead, gets down to cover their goal. If the break is slow enough, try to backpedal a little bit and get an extra set of eyes on the bench area and the sideline. The single moves to the midfield cone and has the primary responsibility for offsides. Stay at the cone as single side until the ball passes by and watch the pursuing players who may go off sides or try a cheap slash to the back. One thing I've noticed this year a lot is too many officials either don't get to the cone or leave it too early as a single side. So stay there until the ball passes. The trail is going to stay behind the ball, moves towards their sideline because they've got the sideline responsibility now, and watches late hits, the sub box, secondary offsides. Fast break is similar, but both lead and the single hustle down to their positions to cover the goal, while the trail is going to have more of that offsides responsibility. After a goal, lead should move more towards the crease and make eye contact with the single side before signaling a goal. Don't stop at the numbers and pose for the cameras to signal a goal. Get in where the players are and watch them while you signal a goal. Everyone can see that it's a goal and the players are going to react appropriately, but everyone can't see the cheap shots or hear the potential unsportsmanlike conduct between the players. The single also needs to move in, but they need to keep a wider view so they can keep all the players in front of them. Both the single and the trail are watching for late hits and unsportsmanlike behavior. Trail's going to backpedal to their new position while also watching the bench. The lead's going to become the new face-off official while the single replaces wherever the lead was. That's all the diagrams I have for so far. Any questions on any of the positioning or any of those that we went through? All right. Let's talk restarts. Something that I've focused on this year more is proper restarts. We all know that the defensive player must give the offensive player at least 5 yards on a restart before playing them, or else we have a flag for illegal procedure. What a lot of us overlook, me included, is that we cannot restart play if an offensive player is within 5 yards from the player in possession of the ball, and that's to prevent any trickery or hidden ball stuff, anything like that. Make sure we're getting the spot of the restart correct. Don't allow running starts. If the ball goes out of bounds on the sideline, we're not restarting that in the box. If the ball's out of bounds on one side of the goal, the play restarts on that side of the goal, no matter where the balls on the end line are. Point to the spot of the restart, verbalize it if you have to.
Hey,
The ball's in
Max.
yeah.
I just on that last point, that's a great point, and I think especially in short time and during penalties, that is additionally important that we make sure that teams are restarting where that ball went out, so they're not gaining an advantage in those
Absolutely.
situations.
Thanks, Don. If the ball is in the goal area and we have a timeout or a flag down, slow whistle, the ball is going to be moved laterally outside the goal area. We're not going to give it to them at the top of the box so that they've got a free shot directly on goal, in addition to their restart from the timeout or the extra man for the penalty. However, if the ball goes out of bounds on the end line, a timeout does not move it outside the goal area. A flag, so if the ball goes out on the end line, they call a timeout. We're restarting it at that point. Could be right behind the goal, in the goal area. If we
Hey,
have a flag,
Max,
yeah, Dave.
what if they are just behind the goal at X and they call a timeout?
We move it out of the box.
Okay. Just wanted
Anyway,
to clarify.
Yeah, anywhere in the goal area, if they call timeout, we move it out, unless it's out of bounds on the end line behind the goal area. If they call timeout, we stay there.
Yep.
If we have a flag down, oh, go ahead.
I was just saying that gets confusing for sometimes.
Yes. Yes. But a flag down, slow whistle does move it out of the goal area, but it does not move the ball up 15 yards to GLE. It's going to start back right or back left. It does not start GLE on a flag down, slow whistle if the ball goes out of bounds on the end line. Another thing to be aware of that I've been burned on in the past, in NFHS rules, the goalkeeper gets 5 seconds on all restarts unless they come out of the crease deliberately trying to delay the restart. If the goalkeeper comes out of the crease to chase a shot or run the ball down the field and try to score, and we have a restart, make sure the covering official checks to see where the goalie is and give them that 5 seconds before they restart play. Stalling prior to the last 2 minutes of the game. We all know about the automatic stall in the last 2 minutes of regulation, but because it shall be the responsibility of the team in possession to attack the goal, we can put a stall on if it is obvious that team A is not attempting to attack the goal or execute a scoring play. However, in the stalling rule, there's not many specifics in that, besides that a team can be called for stalling even if the defense is aggressively playing the ball or the team in possession is man down or losing. They still have to attack the goal. Now, how do we determine when to put a stall on? One of the things that I've been taught in the past is if you think a team might stall, watch the clock to see when they get it in the box. And then let them do their substitutions. If they're not making an attempt on goal within about a minute or so, remind them that they have to attack the goal. If they still don't take the hint, then put the stall on. This is something that actually Dave and I in our game last year, I wish we had put a stall on multiple times during that game, and we didn't. So that's something to discuss in your pregame. Talk about how you want to handle that, what guidelines you want to use, and then what sort of signals you want to use to communicate with your partners to determine when you think you should put a stall on.
Yeah, Max, can I add a little bit more to that?
Yes.
Yeah, especially late in the game is where you're going to find that stall in a close
Mhm.
score. You should have a good feel for how the offense is working already. Or if you don't really pick up on that, start picking up on that. Because then when it gets late in the game and there's a situation that they don't want to really hurry the offensive attack, you can know that, they usually start attacking within 30 seconds. Here it's been 45 seconds to a minute. You know that they're just stalling it around, and it just doesn't feel good because you haven't had that experience all game long. So kind of keep that awareness when the situation arises.
Hey Max, can I ask a question?
Yeah. Yeah.
What in that type of a situation, because we kind of actually even had that week or so in a game,
Mhm.
and the defense just kind of lumped in and hung out in front of the goal and never really went out and played them.
Yeah.
And there's something in the rules that it's like you said, it's kind of ambiguous.
Mhm.
And they just didn't seem like they were going out to go after them.
Yeah. So,
And it's what do you do there? I mean,
in that case, generally, I'm generally less likely to put a stall on if the defense isn't even trying to go attack the ball. But there is one of the situations in the book says, the defense doesn't necessarily have to be aggressively playing the ball or not. The offense still has to make an attempt to attack the goal. So again, that's like Dave said, if it's something kind of out of the ordinary, then that's really where your judgment comes in because it's vaguely worded and like we don't have a shot clock like we do in college. So it's again, that's a judgment call for sure.
yeah, thanks.
Mm. All right. So, Rule 4.9 covers situations where we disallow a goal, and I think I've experienced almost every one of these. So, this is not a complete list of reasons why we disallow goal, but make sure to read 4-9 again to get to be sure of those. One of the big things is do not be quick to blow the whistle at the end of the period unless you know the ball has not been shot. If we blow the whistle while the ball's in the air, we've killed the play and they can't score on that. Before the end of the period and before entering the goal, if a shot touches any member of the attacking team at any time or touches any player besides the defending goalkeeper after hitting the goalkeeper, their equipment, pipes, or crossbar, it's disallowed. If we recognize a timeout by a team in possession, regardless of whether the whistle was blown in time. So if you recognize the timeout, then they shoot, then you blow the whistle, and they score, that's not a goal. If the head comes off the cross on a successful shot, I think I've seen that maybe once, but it does happen. Can't score on that. And only if the scoring player's cross, not their other equipment, like a mouthpiece, is found to be illegal, or if they make any adjustments to it after scoring a goal, then we'd waive it off. If they score a goal, coach calls for an equipment check on them, and they pull the strings, or they try, they punch the mesh in, or the cross itself is found to be illegal. We have to wipe the goal off, and obviously penalize for the cross. Now, if they don't have a mouthpiece or if there's another illegal equipment issue, the goal still counts, but we still penalize appropriately. If they want to call a stick check after a goal, if they want to call an equipment check on a player that did not score the goal and their stick is illegal, the goal counts, but we'd still penalize the player if their stick was illegal and they are not the scoring player. There's a bunch of other situations where goals are disallowed, but Rule 4-9 is a good one to get back in and read. For timeouts, be aware when coaches may want to call one. Some of them like to use them halfway through the quarter to get their team a rest. Some will use it to avoid a failure call. So be aware if you know especially single side, if you know your count's getting closer to 10, or if you know it's about to buzz on your waist. If it's an unusual situation where it doesn't seem like they'd want to call timeout in this sort of situation, kill the play and make sure you count, because they may be trying to avoid an offsides call that we miss. If they are offside, and usually the trail should be counting this quickly. So if you're the trail, you hear a timeout, kill the play, don't necessarily turn back to the bench. Look at the field, do a quick count to make sure they're not offsides. If they are offsides, we wave the timeout off and the ball gets turned over. After a timeout is called, make sure trail gets between the benches, and then your lead and your single get close to players as they walk to the bench, especially if there's mixed colors, to avoid any issues there. Keep your heads up and your cards in your pocket until all the mixed colors have crossed and both teams are in the huddle. We don't want to miss anything cheap that everyone else can see, because our heads are buried in our cards to record a timeout. And during the break, if you're not doing an equipment check or anything, make sure you're verifying the number of each team's timeouts. Inform the coaches. Usually the trail will be able to do that. These games at this level are generally played with a higher level of emotion than the regular season. Our job is to be the ones that remain calm under the pressure here. If necessary, we can use the conduct foul to set the tone if we can, but some actions may escalate directly to an unsportsmanlike conduct. Do not let coaches or players swear at you without any consequences. If we let that go, it's an easy way for the game to get out of control. If we do have an ejection, the R will fill out the WI report form that night, and make sure to let Randy know as well. Good off ball and dead ball officiating helps us avoid lots of problems here. Know where you're supposed to be looking. Avoid calling fouls, especially technical fouls, in front of your partner unless you know that they're screened out. If we've got 3 flags, somebody's looking in the wrong place. We don't need an extra flag for support for our partner. If you see a foul, if you see something that's flag worthy, you can absolutely throw it, but trust your partner, trust their judgment there. Since we have 3 officials for all playoff games, keep an eye on the offensive player for an extra second after a shot or pass in your area for late hits. We don't want to be missing something real bad because we're watching the ball when we shouldn't be. Let the players know that you're watching, either through a valid off-ball interference call or thanking them for holding up on hits that could be illegal. I'd much rather call interference that's legitimate 10 yards away from the play if it's going to avoid personal fouls later on because some guy keeps thinking he's being checked off the ball and wants to take an ill-advised slash way off the ball. If you see that interference, usually as trail, call that. And always be counting for offsides. The trail should definitely count quickly after a goal is scored to verify that we've got 6 or less offensive players there. Last slide I got for tonight. We are the ones that are paid to enforce the rules fairly and accurately. So this is the time to get back in the rule book and reread areas that you're uncomfortable with. Rules 4 and 7 take up about half the book. Play of the game and penalty enforcement. Those are the ones very important for us to know as officials. Show up on time. Participate in your pregame. Have a good discussion with your crew. We get there longer, 45 minutes, an hour before the game for these playoff games, so we can go through crazy situations that we've had, so we can review the 3-man mechanics, so we can get comfortable with partners we haven't necessarily worked with throughout the season. The WIA reminds us always to act professionally when we're addressing our student athletes, coaches, school personnel, spectators. Be careful what you say, especially since humor can be misinterpreted. Do not bait a coach or a player. We're not baseball umpires that get in shouting matches with coaches. We're the professional ones out there. And lastly, make sure you have fun. It's an honor to be selected to officiate at any level of the playoffs. So enjoy the time you have out there in the last 3 weeks of the season. If you're not working on later playoff dates and want to get to that level, go to the games on days you're not working or watch them streaming online if you can. See what the guys that are on the field that are doing and try to take away some things that can improve your game. And don't be afraid to reach out to the more experienced officials for advice. Every experienced official I know in every state that I've worked in has been willing to help others by talking rules, mechanics, or discussing video clips. Randy said before that he wants every official to be able to get to the level where they can work the state championship game, and I completely agree with that. Let us know what we can do to help because that's what Wailoa is here for.
Hey, Max.
Yes, Dave.
There are I should say many referee crew chiefs that go deep into the playoffs that are willing to accept another official or two into the pregame and on the field to listen to the discussion and watch the officials on the field as they're working the game, and that they can ask questions and really see what it's all about and when you get to that level. So
absolutely, that's a great
reach
idea
out
too.
Yeah, reach out to the R's of those games, and if you don't know, Randy knows who they are, so reach out to Randy.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Anyone else have any questions?
John DeVries might have to have a couple of questions. He hasn't been out there for a long time.
Max, Tim Hawken.
Hey, Tim.
At the end of the game, does anybody need to be reporting scores or the coaches doing that?
I believe the coaches are handling that. I don't think we report, at least last year, I don't remember reporting to WIAA.
Yep.
So the only thing we need to report to WIAA is if we have an ejection, because they have to take quick action on that for the next round.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Don, do you have anything besides convincing people to pay their dues if they haven't already?
No, I think that's it. Mr. Woolley, you want to mention your party?
Sure. Yeah. The June 14th is the championship Saturday in Sun Prairie, and my humble abode is about 12 minutes away from that stadium. And I am hosting a pregame, we can call it a tailgate. Well, the girls' game starts at 1, and then the boys' game starts after. So we're going to guess around 3:30ish, probably, maybe 4. Opening up the house or the backyard probably around 11, and bring a side dish. We're going to have some smoked meat, grilled meat, and so bring a side that goes with that, and bring your own beverage. Bring a chair. We'll have a fire in the fire pit. Maybe some yard games. Just have some good fun. If you need an address, text me.
And then there is a document that I'm finalizing that is probably going to be about 3 pages that does cover pretty much everything we talked about in these slides. We have a longer one that we use for college games, so I've tried to compact it and make it more NFHS Wailoa friendly. We will get that out hopefully tomorrow to everyone. And you can use it or choose to disregard it as you wish.
All right, that sounds good. Thanks, Max.
Nice
Thanks
job,
for the
Max.
opportunity, Don. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Don.
Thanks, guys.